Chris will start with a rugged Highlands. He's up 21. We'll see what Jesse can put together on his first turn of the game. It will be a Temple of Malady. A little scry action here for Jesse. Top card stays on top very quickly. Back to VanMeter we go. Courser of Kruphix the draw. There's a Forest. Any acceleration here for Chris? Doesn't look to be the case. We'll just go back Jesse's way. We'll see what he kept on top. Let's copy Bermaz.
Yeah, Jesse's opening hand looked a little threat light. Bermaz a great play to curve into, especially after a turn 2 Fleece main line.
There's the Plains off the windswept tee. Jesse down to 19. There is old Fleece main line. Looks like Chris has a copy of Roast in hand. He can use that to kill the Fleece main line if he finds nothing to do. The VanMeter will take a draw here. Has Haven of the Spirit Dragon. He'll play that. And now he'll play a Courser to kind of check the line. Top card of the deck is a Thunderbreak Regent past that turn. Over to Jesse we go. Manic Influence the draw. Jesse able to curve out really nicely this game. Has Bermaz, also has Siege Rhino too. Here's the attack.
Dromoka's Command also.
There's a block. Basically daring Jesse, I think, to have something here. Chris immediately blocking, which I like.
The only card that really blows him out in that spot is Dromoka's Command, which Jesse could have just used to make him sacrifice the Courser Kruphix anyway.
Yeah. So now there's Bermaz. Yeah, you could have like a post-combat Bioblight, I guess.
Yeah, that's
Swamp Bioblight, you know.
That's not something I would call a blowout in that spot. You know, it's all 1-for-1 trades. None of it's the end of the world. Chris with a second Courser in hand anyway, so that's also an incentive to just block. See what happens.
Manic Influence on top of the deck. It's going to enter the battlefield now. Trigger. Gain a little bit of life up to 22. Draconic Roar. That's on top of the deck next. See what route Chris does want to take. Again, he does have Roast in his hand. Draconic Roar on top of the deck. Thunderbreak Regent in hand as well. Looks like he might be leaning towards Roast. I'll take care of Bermaz. Chris will take 1. There's Draconic Roar. Fleece main line is going to leave. Show the Thunderbreak Regent. Clear up the board, and now he gets to attack too.
I like this turn a lot, especially with Jesse having removal spells in his deck for the Dragon that Chris could have just played instead. Keeping the board clean, especially when you have Courser in play, you're drawing another removal spell. Right now, it's looking like the late game is favoring Chris by quite a bit, so I like taking a slower pace.
There's a Siege Rhino there for Jesse. He'll have to pay a life to be able to cast it, but he'll get 3 life back. VanMeter will lose 3. Draw a copy of Draconic Roar. Take a look at the top card of Chris's deck. It's a Storm Breath Dragon. Chris with Crater's Claws, Draconic Roar, Courser of Kruphix, and Thunderbreak Regent in hand.
No good answer here to the Siege Rhino unless he's able to stick a 4-power creature to pair with the Crater's Claws. And Jesse's going to do everything in his power to keep those creatures off the table the minute they show up.
So Chris wants to move over here because he doesn't have the 5th land just yet. So he's going to start by attacking with Courser into Siege Rhino. Pretty safe attack there, given that he does have Draconic Roar. So now there's Thunderbreak Regent.
It's an opportunity there for Jesse to get the 2-for-1, but because Chris with another Courser in hand isn't really that married to it, that's a great attack there. I mean, the 2 free points of damage, the way this game is shaping up, is potentially a very big deal.
See what we have here. Dromoka's Command.
Uh-oh. So that's fight and sacrifice an enchantment, I'm guessing?
That could be what that is.
Another one for the highlight reel this weekend for Dromoka's Command. Mostly in Tom Ross's deck, but pretty good in this spot too.
I think the follow-up this turn might be Anafenza too. Yeah, that's a heck of a turn.
He'll play.
My
that
goodness.
turn will play. And now Chris missing a land drop here, as we know from last turn, and drawing a Storm Breath Dragon that he cannot cast.
Draconic Roar doesn't kill anything. Crater's Claws doesn't kill anything. And Courser of Kruphix is laughably outclassed on this board. Man, Dromoka's Command is good. Hell yeah.
And Jesse still with cards left over in his hand.
Yeah.
Still got more action.
What a card.
It's the vulnerability of, green decks without black, without white is the size of your opponent's creatures matter a lot. It's been just, Chris has not been able to really get out from under 4/4s and 4/5s thus far.
We'll see what's next here from Chris, because he's in some serious trouble now.
He's got Jesse pretty low. He's on 8 with Incinerate in his hand and a Fireball. There is some hope there.
See, the top card is Rugged Highlands, Trigger, Manic Influence on top. Chris at 15.
It's possible that Jesse just can't finish him off in time and Storm Breath could come through uncontested. So
It is certainly possible. Chris going to figure out a line here. I think that may have been a Wingmate Rock. Ooh, boy.
that might be too much.
Attackers. Trigger the Anafenza. Put a counter on the Siege Rhino.
Jesse with 2 lands in hand. If he had drawn a land that turn, I think Chris has got a shot at clawing back in.
Yeah, I really think he does. I actually think that Chris, I don't want to say he would win easily, but I think his turn would probably be block your Anafenza with my Courser, take 5, go to 10, play Stormbreath Dragon on D, pass. Hopefully you don't have a removal spell for it, or maybe attack, but if he attacks and he dies on the counterattack, so then he just says, play Stormbreath Dragon, pass, hope to block, and then attack and Kratos Clutch you.
Yeah, he's got a good line to victory here, but I just don't know if he can overcome this as well.
Yeah, this is a disaster. The top deck Wingmate Rock is so hard for Chris to beat now. Of course, it comes with a token, and the life that it can gain, too, seems really, really tough for Chris to win now. Draw a copy of Manic Influence. Elvish Mystic on top. That's obviously no help. There is Manic Influence. Chris will gain a life and go up to 7.
Kyle Couch, please report to the stage. Kyle Couch, please report to the stage.
And he even has to take 1 to actually even be able to cast the Stormbreath Dragon.
And there's going to be an Anafenza trigger in all of this as well. Probably going on to the Trampler.
Seems like the best spot for that.
Chris cannot play Storm Breath and pair it with a removal spell this turn because the creatures are just too big on Jesse's side of the table.
Chris going to come across here for 2. Hoping there will be no block.
Yeah, if Jesse blocks, Chris can then play Storm Breath Dragon and claws the creature that blocked for 2.
He is really hoping that Jesse makes some sort of severe error here. It's going to be a double block.
I like the double block here. If Chris commits any sort of mana to finishing off something, then that's Jesse still probably has enough resources to attack for the win next turn.
Yet the reason that you have to block in some capacity, you can't go down to 6 against a deck with Chronic Roar, because then you can just die to 2 of them, and you know your opponent has 1. Now, he's not dead to Kratos Claws, given that Chris already played his land, but he could be dead to double Chronic Roar. So a smart block at all, and I think a double block is probably the best way to go here.
Yep.
Yep, and Chris is going to concede the game, so Jesse Grogan is able to win this game against Chris VanMeter, able to break serve. Amzad aggro up a game here over green-red aggro. Pretty impressive stuff.
Yep. I mean, Jesse's curve there was a little bit leaner. Chris stumbled early in that Jermoka's command. Feels like we've said that so many times this weekend. Chris lost several turns worth of development and was under the gun too fast.
We'll take a look at the sideboard here for VanMeter. 2 Arbor Colossus, 2 Hornet Nest, 2 Destructive Revelry, 2 Wild Slash, 3 Seismic Rupture, a Chandra, a Nissa, a Mob Rule, and a Roast.
So I like the Roast coming in as additional removal spell. You saw the problems that Siege Rhino created for Chris that game. Another removal spell there is pretty powerful. Beyond that, I think Hornet Nest and Arbor Colossus are both fine. Just he's mostly attacking on the ground, so Hornet Nest can be good. Arbor Colossus can just be terrored away, but it's a big blocker, and I think Chris just wants more big stuff.
A Back Nature, 2 Dromoka's Command, a Murderous Cut, a Valorous Stance, an Elspeth, Sun's Champion, Liliana Vest, 2 Nissas, 2 Drowned Sorrow, a Duress, 2 Glare of Heresy, and a Thoughtseize here for Grogan.
There's 5 cards that really stand out to me here. The 2 copies of Dromoka's Command, the Murderous Cut, the Valorous Stance, and the Elspeth. I like bringing in more removal. Chris is spending a lot of mana for threats that Jesse can dispatch of for relatively less mana. Anything that allows Jesse to generate more of those exchanges, I think, is very powerful for him. And the Elspeth, I think, is a powerful way for him to top off his curve. Both the plus on the stable board and the minus if Chris has developed something.
Well, there's your setup there for these 2 players. We'll have game number 2 here in just a moment, but as we talked about multiple times this weekend, we don't want you guys to forget, next weekend, Star City Games State Championship, spring style, 2 awesome events.
Yeah, it's a 2-day event. Well, it's 2 separate events over the course of the weekend. Saturday is standard, and then Sunday is modern. Get over to starcitygames.com/states to find the state championships nearest to you. If you are fortunate enough to top 8 the standard state championship, you will receive this playmat here. The following day, the modern one, on Sunday, if you top 8 that one, you get this playmat, put them together, and bam.
It's a puzzle.
2 pieces.
Yep.
starcitygames.com/states. Find your most local state championship today.
I'm coming to battle. Coming to battle.
You're going to battle?
Give me that red deck. It's on you.
Okay.
It has to be able to beat green red aggro. It's got to.
I think that's fine.
Right.
I think that matchup can be won pretty easily.
That's your job. I'll take care of the modern part.
Okay. I know you already got, I'm assuming you've already got Tron ready to go.
My Tron pieces are good. Got to dust them off a little bit. It's been over a year since I've played it in a live tournament. In a live tournament, yeah, over a year.
What was the last one?
Yikes. Well, I didn't play it at Boston Worcester. So it was before that. Detroit. Oh,
really? Grand Prix Detroit?
Might be 2 years ago.
I remember that event.
Where does the time go? It's just gone.
It went into this. That's where the time went.
Right. Right.
Mostly hung up the wand. Occasionally compete in some tournaments on a lark.
When you're feeling it.
When you're feeling it.
And dust them off. Get ready to do battle. Can't wait to get Blood Mooned.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be a thing.
Spreading Seas.
That is going to be a thing.
Tech Edged.
Fulminator Mage.
Splinter Twins. Nothing too cute about that. Just can't ever beat it.
I appreciate your devotion to a particular strategy, but that Tron deck does not seem terribly good to me.
Shut your mouth.
Seems like you'd be good against the Obzon decks. Most pure control decks you'd be fine against.
Yeah.
But everything with interaction seems challenging.
So what?
I know. Listen, you don't got to try to convince me to just stick to your guns.
Let's just do it anyway.
That's fine.
My opponent can have stuff, yeah. And I can't have stuff because my deck doesn't have stuff.
Right.
So that's fine.
We are who we are.
There's nothing more satisfying than playing something on turn 3 with 7 mana. Nothing.
Have you incorporated Ugin?
No. Though
Not
I
a fan.
might. Though I might. Some people say I should. I might. I don't know.
Seems powerful against decks with stuff, and you just mentioned
I don't want to beat stuff.
the stuff matchup is pretty challenging.
Stuff is tough to beat. Stuff is tough.
They often have it, too. If
Yeah.
the stuff matchup, you'd be surprised how often they have
They're
it.
so lucky. They always draw stuff, and I can't win. Pretty close first game between these two. Chris going to give his deck one more look over.
It was looking like, Chris was stumbling a little bit there. I think that Siege Rhino would have been a bit of a problem for him regardless, but the Dromoka's Command, there was no recovering from that. That was Chris's entire board.
No argument here. Hydromoka's Command was quite powerful.
And it wasn't a bad board. It was Corsair Crew Fix, and it was a Thunderbreak region, but that was the whole board.
Hydromoka's Command has just been completely absurd all weekend.
Yeah, most notably in Tom's deck, but that was a great shot of it there as well.
It's just very rare that when we're watching, that we see a card where we're just like, oh my goodness. And it causes that reaction multiple times. It feels like when we were watching Jeskai Sensi combo in Oakland, like when we were just like, okay, there's something unfair going on here. And this is just one card, but every time Tom casts it and then Jesse in that last game, it's like, my goodness. So good.
I would be nervous if I was playing in States or the Pro Tour next weekend. I would be nervous about having Corsair Crew Fix in my deck.
Yeah.
I think that's just going to be coming up a lot.
Just going to get 2-for-1 a lot with that card. It is rather scary. That's for sure. VanMeter going to be on the play. Looks like he's happy with his 7 Jesse considering his. And we're underway here. Chris going to sacrifice the Wooded Foothills. I think we'll have a Forest and Elvish Mystic in just a moment.
Looks like a pretty slow hand there for Jesse. And one that also may be without white mana that we will find out momentarily.
Jesse going to do the Temple thing. Top card to the bottom, head back Chris's way. See if Chris can accelerate into something broken. There's another Wooded Foothill, so he'll sacrifice that, go down to 18. We'll see what his play is going to be.
Usually when you see someone scry that fast on turn 1, it means there's something wrong with their hand.
It's a Courser. We'll see how much work this Courser actually has to do. Top card, Temple of Abandon. Jesse's draw another Siege Rhino. There's a Caves and a passing of the turn. VanMeter will draw that Temple. Take a look at that top card, Crater's Claws. There's the Temple. See where the Claws goes. So Chris will gain a life. Claws going to the bottom. Next card is a Forest.
Now Chris is well situated here. Ash Cloud, Phoenix, Stormbreath Dragon, some removal spells. And Jesse with a pretty slow hand by the looks of things.
Curious if Chris plans on casting that as a morph. Given the attack, it seems like he is. There's the flexibility of Ash Cloud Phoenix.
Chris's mana is going to be jammed up here for a couple turns, most likely. So good to just deploy the morph when you have a good spot. And if Jesse wants to use a removal spell in this morph, well, that's one less one for your Stormbreath Dragon.
And Jesse with no play yet again. As you mentioned, his hand is very, very expensive. We'll see how Chris tries to play around things. Carry out of the top card.
A lot of Siege Rhinos in that hand.
Yep. 3 of them to be exact, 2 Wingmate Rocks as well. And not sure if Chris has any interest in maybe trying to play around some things, or he just says, screw it, I'm playing Stormbreath Dragon. I like this approach.
There's only the 3 downfalls.
Yep.
It's not like he has that much removal for Stormbreath Dragon in his deck.
And in a situation like this, if he doesn't have it, he's basically dead. And if he does, good beats, I think.
Exactly.
The draws Anafenza. He'll also take 1 to play the Siege Rhino. So down to 9, up to 12. VanMeter will lose 3. But Chris has an answer to that Siege Rhino and Roast. Also has Crater's Claws in hand. Now, this game might be over on this turn. Carry out of the draw. Top card of the deck is Roast. Chris is going to do some math to see if he can finish things off this turn. I think it's actually Xaxes here. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And Crater's Claws would be for 3, given Ferocious.
Yep. I don't even think he needed the Roast here because Siege Rhino saves 2 damage as a blocker, and
Sure.
the Roast costs 2 mana. So Chris had it a couple different ways there.
VanMeter ties it up here against Grogan. Green out aggro, Obs on aggro, heading to game number 3. Some fast games for a fast top 8.
Yep. I mean, game 1 was about as drawn out as the games are likely to get.
That
you
really
know?
is true.
A 6 or 7 turn affair, a little bit of back and forth.
Jesse going to need to keep a hand with a little more interaction this go around, or just some more earlier plays.
You can see that he was definitely mulling it over. He had Siege Rhinos and Wingmate Rock. His top end was good, but he's got to interact earlier than that.
Got to agree.
Especially, you know, post-board here, Chris is picking up another copy of Roast, and he has his Mob Rule. So these slow hands that are leaning on Siege Rhino can go bad for him in a number of ways. Either it just dies because Chris has 3 copies of Roast post-board, or Jesse plays a couple blockers after Chris has a board developed, and then Mob Rule just kills him. So I think he needs to interact a bit earlier in the game for a variety of reasons.
Well, one of these players who wins will get an invite, of course, to our Season 2 Invitational. That's a great pathway to get to our Players' Championship, something that Jim Davis and Jacob Wilson were able to do. Jacob, of course, winning our Season 1 Invitational.
Congratulations to both these players. Jim taking a little bit of time off, and it's well-deserved. The Season 1 point champion had a very, very good performance in 2015, won his first Open Series, and will be playing in the Players' Championship yet again this coming year. Wants to improve on his performance from last year. Jacob Wilson did not play last year. Won the Invitational, beating Reduke in the finals a week ago, and he will be the third qualified person here. Also has his Monk token as part of his prize.
Monk token, fantastic. Able to debut that this weekend, so congratulations to Jacob. We'll be seeing him in combination with Monastery Mentor for years to come. Our Season 1 Invitational champion, $10,000, likeness on a card, 35 Open Series points, and invite to our Players' Championship December 19th and the 20th at the Star City Game Center in Roanoke, Virginia. Chris was there last year. Perhaps we'll see him there again.
This is a good starting point. You can see him right now in 31st place. He's got a lot of work to do. Has not attended very many events thus far in 2015, has not performed very well at the events that he has attended, but getting it turned around this weekend.
For Chris, it was all about going back to Stormbreath Dragon and ways to cast it. Of course, our crew fix a card Chris very familiar with as well, and we'll see if he can get him one more win. This tournament has mostly been his.
Yes.
He may not win it, but it's been his tournament.
I mean, up until this point, you know, he's a game away, and Jesse here could easily win this game and win the tournament, but Chris, the first overall seed, and just ran through the Swiss rounds. Had a gap between his record and the next best record.
Yeah, easily the #1 overall seed. Won both of his top 8 matches 2-0. He did drop his first one here to Jesse, and Jesse's looking to get this one too. Now he's going to be on the play here for game number 3, which is a great thing for his deck. We'll see if the mana and the cards do come together. Abazan aggro can be very difficult to catch up against if they do get ahead, as we saw in game number 1, for example.
And a card I'm surprised to not see anywhere in Jesse's 75, and a card I bet he wishes he had for this matchup is Ultimate Price.
Yeah.
Just such a clean, efficient answer to a lot of what's going on in Chris's deck. And given that his removal suite is a bit vulnerable to Stormbreath Dragon game 1, I would want to clean that up a little bit in the post-board games.
And Price is such an interesting card with how it lines up in the format. It's really good against some decks, really bad against others. Of course, the deck that he is playing, it's so poor against.
Well, you want to play it. You don't want to play it main. That's fine.
Yeah.
No argument here. But as you mentioned, there are a lot of matchups where it doesn't really kill anything. But somewhere in the 75, I think it belongs.
These players will shuffle up. Game number 3 will be underway here. We appreciate having you guys all weekend long. Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan, Nick Miller, and Kenny Crocker in the sideboard, along with the rest of the SCG Live crew. Our final game here from Syracuse. It's been a lot of fun to watch. Tom Ross with his Bant Heroic deck was a story for a while. Gerard Fabiano with his Jund mid-range deck as well, which the people did choose from his article. But Chris VanMeter making his way back to the finals with Stormbreath Dragon in tow. Jesse Grogan looking to maybe play spoiler here to what's been a great weekend for Chris. We'll see if Jesse can find a solid opening hand. See if he'll be the one raising the trophy here from Syracuse. He's going to keep. Chris will keep as well. Let's start it up for game number 3, a Temple of Malady here for Jesse. Leaves it on top very, very quickly. Chris with a Temple of Abandon. He'll take a look at his top card. He's got some thinking to do.
Roast, Corsair, and some dragons. Solid 7.
Top card goes to the bottom for Chris. Jesse kept this card on top real quick. It's a Rashasha Death Dealer. He'll sacrifice his Windswept Heath. Go get a forest very quickly, cast the Death Dealer. So now the question, of course, is does Grogan have white mana in his hand? He kept that Death Dealer on top so fast because I think he just said, I need a 2-drop to get going.
And you see a couple white sources of mana there. A Plains, Temple of Silence, Sandstorm Citadel. He just needed a play, and he found it.
Valor, Stance, and Bobblehead are the other cards. Chris staring at that roast. You got to wonder if he wants to cast it on this or maybe try to save it because some of the threats here in Jesse's deck are so good. Anafenza, Siege Rhino, great roast targets.
I think Chris is all about the curve this game. He's got turn 3 and turn 4 and beyond all lined up with what's in his hand right now. So this seems like a good spot to just play to the curve, kill his play. The kicker here is that we know Jesse's hand, and this is his only threat.
Now this makes it so much easier. I was going to say if it's Draconic Roar, it's an easy decision.
Yep.
Because Roast can, of course, take care of one of the bigger threats. And Chris does have Draconic Roar, shows a Thunderbreak Regent. Death Dealer is dead, and he can move forward accordingly. Bermaz the draw. Bermaz lines up a little awkward here, however.
Oh, this deck's mana base. You are a hoot.
Yeah, sure are. Temple of Silence, top card goes to the bottom. Bermaz can't be deployed this turn. VanMeter will take a draw. It's a Courser of Krufix.
Some fortuitous draw steps here for Jesse, being able to find a threat here for the second turn. And Bermaz, though awkward, at least is something that can be played. But this is not the start that Jesse's really looking for here, particularly on the play. You'd like to see a little bit more pressure out of him thus far.
I mean, the story is very tellable with just the first two creatures that Jesse found, Rashasha, Death Dealer, Bermaz.
Yep.
We're stretching that mana. When it works, it's a very, very tough deck to beat. Sometimes situations like this arise, however. Top card of the deck is a Forest from the Courser. Pass the turn back over to Grogan. Sandsep Citadel the draw. He'll play a Plains. Here is Bermaz. Passing of the turn.
And I wonder maybe if Jesse is better served there just playing Sandsep Citadel and passing the turn. That way he has the option of killing something large in the event that it shows up right away. Also means that if Chris has nothing going on, he can play Bermaz with Valorous Stance protection the following turn. As it stands, if this thing gets hit by a Roast, again, Jesse has a hand of nothing. He's got 2 removal spells.
It's getting hit by a Roast right now. Here comes the Courser of Krufix. You see the top card of the deck for VanMeter is a Stormbreath Dragon. He went back up to 20 from Rugged Highlands, and that Courser of Krufix triggers. So now Grogan, he needs to draw a creature, and he just did there in Fleece main line, so that's certainly helpful. The Lion will enter the battlefield. There's a Sandsep Citadel. Pass that turn back. The tapping there from Jesse, not great.
Could have tapped the Plains and the Forest and left up Bile-Blight.
Yep. He had the ability to leave a Bile-Blight and Valorous Stance. He can't do that now with the way he's tapped his mana.
This feels like a Stormbreath Dragon turn in any case. Because, again, the answer that Jesse has access to Hero's Downfall, well, doesn't have the requisite mana.
I'd be surprised if Chris passes that up. He is looking at 2 Thunderbreak Regents too, and it is attractive to get Thunderbreak Regent set and then play Stormbreath Dragon. So we'll see which route he wants to go as he's thumbing between those 2 Thunderbreak Regents, but Stormbreath's starting to make its way into Chris's mind here as well. Chris going to go with Thunderbreak Regent instead.
It's good news for Jesse as he's now able to Valorous Stance.
And the reason I don't love that play is I want to maximize my mana if I'm Chris that turn for Stormbreath Dragon. You mentioned the fact that Jesse doesn't have an answer, the mana necessary to cast Hero's Downfall to kill Stormbreath Dragon, but mostly Chris is drawing Roast next turn. So if the top card of his deck is an untapped land, he can play Thunderbreak Regent and Roast in the same turn.
Yep.
So he can maximize his mana that turn and the following turn. Now he's kind of playing a little off curve.
I also don't like allowing Jesse to fill out his mana that turn productively when he goes to 5 mana the following turn. So this, imagine Jesse's hand's very powerful. It's a lot of removal spells. You're giving him the option now of going attack with Fleece, kill your play, untap monstrous your Fleece main line in the face of you drawing a removal spell. And then you're at the mercy of how many Heroes Downfalls and such does Jesse have in his hand.
Well, Chris is going to switch now to Stormbreath Dragon and put Jesse down to 7. We'll see if Jesse has found a Hero's Downfall or not. He'll attack here for 4. VanMeter's down to 17. He doesn't have a downfall yet. He's got a Fleece main line. He's got a Bile-Blight. Plays a Sandsep Citadel. There's another Fleece main line past that turn back. VanMeter's going to take a draw step here. It's a Forest.
Now Jesse could have potentially killed the Stormbreath Dragon with his one sideboarded Murderous Cut.
Sure.
That is possible, but I think one of the Valorous Stances is more likely there.
Chris is certainly on the cusp of it here. Stormbreath Dragon's such a hard card for Abzan aggro to answer. He'll start by attacking with that. No answer here from Grogan. VanMeter's going to put him down to 3. The follow-up is a Roast to take care of that Fleece main line. And now a Thunderbreak Regent. So if Grogan wants to kill this, he'll have to kill himself to do it. Jesse will untap. I think this might be his last draw step of the tournament. It's a copy of Bile-Blight. He'll take a look at his hand, but there are no answers to those flyers.
You can kill one, but not the other.
If he kills one, he's going to take a bunch of damage. Thunderbreak Regent is happy to hit you for targeting any dragon, not only itself, but Stormbreath as well. That 4 damage going to come across. Chris with no interest in blocking. Bile Blights will go after the Thunderbreak Regents, and that's an extension of the hand. Chris VanMeter, welcome back to the winner's circle. He is going to win this match and this tournament with green-red aggro.
Long time overdue here. You see some celebration with Todd Anderson in the background, Anthony Lowry hanging out here, and just keep it simple, you know? You got a strategy that you like, you got a deck that you like particular cards you gravitate towards. You've been doing other stuff. You have been not having much success. Maybe time to just go back and do what you've been doing. And Chris doing it this weekend. Ran through the Swiss rounds, first overall seed, never really touched. And a harrowing finals there, close, but at the end of the day, Chris got it done.
You know, there are some players who are able to switch